welcome back to the show. As you know, that here we usually talk to people who are creators who are doing crowdfunding on either Kickstarter or Loop. And so today we have somebody who's done both. He's currently running a campaign on Kickstarter for his book. So I'm going to bring him in, let him introduce himself, and then we'll chat about him and his project. Hey, John, how's it going?
Hey, it's going good. Thanks for having me.
Well, I'm glad we could finally work out a time and apologize for last week. It was a little busier than usual.
Oh, no big deal. Life's crazy. Parenting's crazy. You got to do what you got to do. But I appreciate you squeezing me in. But yeah, I'm Jon Westhoff. I am the writer, publisher, letterer for Part Time Comics, which is just a vanity name for places to park my stories that I'm working on with other creators. Yeah, I've done 25 crowdfunding campaigns at this point over 15 years. We've done Zoop, we've done Indiegogo, we even did a chip in. That's a site that's long gone. We've done quite a few, but we're back on Kickstarter. That's our home base of sorts.
So before we start talking about the project, tell me a little bit about yourself. Mainly, your history as a comic book reader and what, inspired you to start making your own.
Well, honestly, when I was younger, I've read comics. I had an amazing grandparent who happened to work next to a comic shop, and she used to read comics when she was a kid. So she brought us in and picked up Amazing Spider-Man 332 off the shelf with Venom jumping out at you on the cover, and was just hooked ever since. Thankfully, her and my mom took us back every couple of weeks. And yeah, been a lifelong comic reader, but never really thought about being a creator. That was really, I had an older brother who would just take sketchbooks and just fill them up with drawings and all his young blood and X-Men ripoff projects. And I was just happy to kind of see his stories. It wasn't until I got to be in my mid-20s and I was getting out of being in music. I was a failed musician and looking for something else to do, and said, hey, I think I'll take a crack at this this comic writing thing. And I've been doing it ever since. I think my first project came out in 2009, in the long ago. And 16 years later, I'm on to I think the 40th book that has my name attached to it. So I've just been chipping away at them.
So let's talk about the project that you're currently uh, crowdfunding. What is it? What's it about? And I'm just going to continue to load the questions. What's the inspiration?
Well, Drumsticks of Doom is really our flagship title at Part Time Comics. It's a idea that I had for many years and was waiting for the right co-collaborator to work on, and thankfully, friend and also fellow musician and fellow amazing comic creator Dan Doherty was able to jump in with me, and we've been creating this book for about 5 years now. It is, as I said, I was a musician. I was in bands for most of my life. I played drums. So what do you do when you get out of being in a band? You write about being in a band. So I wrote a story about that, but I didn't think people would read that, about, failed musicianship and dreams not working out and things like that. I thought, I'm not Jaime Hernandez. I'm not Charles Burns. No one's going to read these stories. So I better add some werewolves and some witches and all kinds of monsters. And that's what became Drumsticks of Doom.
So, for people that haven't, read the story before, give us an overview of, you know, where the werewolves and everything works into the.
So it started with, again, I had the seed of an idea of, somebody's in a band, it's not going where they want to be, they want to make their own music. Again, it was like, then all of a sudden the idea just popped into my head. What if like a werewolf just busted into their practice? And then I kind of had to reverse engineer that, right? And it wasn't until I finally got the real hook of the story is, and the short pitch that I give all the time is, Black Sabbath, not the Beatles, became the most popular band on earth, and thus the world was changed forever. Heavy metal rules the earth. Once I kind of came up with that kind of log line, that's how the universe was different and why everybody loved heavy metal. And there was all these, all those things your aunties and your grandmas told you would happen if you listened to heavy metal, happened. People were worshiping things and bringing things, in from hell and things like that. Once I kind of had that, it just the universe felt real, and then I could kind of go from there. But of course, it's a more grounded story. It's about our main character, Lana. She just wants to play independent music in a heavy metal world, and she's a little bit too ashamed to kind of step out of the shadows because what we would consider pop music, they consider, indie or underground music in this world because everybody's a huge heavy metal fan.
So when you're writing, is well, are there any other musicians besides, it sounds like Black Sabbath is an inspiration. Is there any other music to kind of inspire you when you're writing?
Yeah, this particular project, a lot of my projects have like music themes through them. It's not just being in a band, but some of us who really just love music and always have music playing, always have a song, in our head. Wait in the car before you get out, at the grocery store because you just got to finish that last song or whatever. We know those kind of people. And Dan, again, is a lifelong musician, so I think it was important to bring in another musician who not just knew how to draw the gear, but knew, the ins and outs of music. Now, I never really, aspired to, play Madison Square Garden or anything like that, but I draw a lot of inspiration actually from my musical tastes, like changing over the years. Musicians like Alex Cameron and St. Vincent and all these bands that I found as I was getting older. I started to say to myself, well, am I a heavy metal guy anymore? And that a lot of that's in the story. Like, I never really had friends or I had an older brother who we all, went to concerts together and they never really judged me, but there's always that thing in the back of your mind, when you're like a heavy metal guy, like everything's got to be metal. And just accepting that more and more as I got older was a big part of the story. But I'm very much inspired by a lot of musicians. Sleep Token's a recent one. There's a lot of Dio in this book. He's a huge inspiration for the book. Bands like that.
Now, do is it accessible for people since this is the second arc? Is it accessible for people, who maybe haven't checked out the first arc, or I'm assuming that, they can also get the first arc as part of the crowdfunding
Yeah, you
rewards.
can always catch up on the series. We also have a Store Envy account, storeenvy.parttimecomics.com. You can always catch up anytime you want. I feel like I was definitely trying to keep that in mind. As you can see on this Kickstarter, it's a new series, but it's continuing the series, right? It's the second arc. We're doing the Hellboy style book, where it's like mini series. So I had to make, with that in mind, I had to make it accessible, right? I feel like you could jump in, but if you read the first arc, you'll definitely be rewarded, right? You'll know the relationships better. You know what's kind of happened up to this point. But I do feel like people could jump in this middle arc and still get a lot out of the book.
So tell us, how did you meet up with Dan, the artist? Did you know him from before? I'm sorry, you may have said this. How, did you meet him, his work, see his work, or kind of?
We were actually again, the whole musicianship thing kind of just carries over into creating comics. I started to realize that I had a lot of friends in the industry that were also musicians currently or were before. And one such person was an awesome drummer and comic creator, Wendy Freeman. Um, she, we met through mutual friends. We're both from Chicago. And I kind of picture the idea, we know, Ray and this other guy and all these other guys, they've been in bands. We should make an anthology, based around music, and we'll call it Banthology. So that was kind of how it started. She actually introduced me to Dan. She's like, oh, I know this great creator. I see him like every year at C2E2 and these other conventions. So she introduced me, and that was really that first story I saw from Dan in Banthology is called The Beast in Me. It was a great black and white story, so that's part of why Drumsticks of Doom is black and white. Ever since I saw that, I kind of see Dan's art in black and white, even though he's done amazing stuff in color. Having not even met Dan face to face, like we emailed, we put out the book together, we met a few times, but the story he did was basically a story of himself playing his biggest show at the Metro in Chicago, and always kind of chasing that high of playing on stage for that many people. It was a big show, a good turnout. He had a great show. And he did this about this little beast that comes in and just always nagging him and saying, you got to keep going. You got to play bigger venues and bigger shows. And I just was like, this guy gets it. Like, once you kind of have that taste, there's always just something with that. There's nothing like live music. And again, he's an amazing artist to boot. So obviously, that was a huge part of it too. He's got to be able to have the chops to draw the book. But getting to know Dan over the years, we were friends then for a decade before I finally said, hey, Dan, you want to work on this comic with me? And thankfully he had time in his schedule. And now this will be the 7th issue we've done together. We're really hitting our stride together now.
How has that, how, if you look back and from the first couple issues to now, how has the process of you guys working together changed? Have you gotten to know, kind of think more what the other person is thinking as you're putting things together?
Yeah, I feel like I'm not a huge panel description guy. I'm definitely not Alan Moore. I'm not going to give you a whole page for one panel. I try to give the artists, I don't want to pigeonhole them. If there's something specific, like she needs to be holding this in her hand because it plays into the series, or, her reaction should be like this, I will put that, but I do leave it pretty open. But I'll tell you, as the series goes on, I can just write, Frankenstein monster, busts through the wall, and Dan's like, I got it. And he just draws this amazing thing. So I do feel like at this point, we kind of have a psychic connection going where I don't really have to say much. And he's just awesome. He knows exactly what to draw and exactly what to do. And he often changes. Like, if I'm kind of getting in a headspace where it's just two talking heads, he kind of reins me back in and says, well, we got to have some action here. We got to move it around. Or he'll just make, the panel's dynamic enough to where it's not, just a boring scene, like a writer would write, where it's just two people in a room talking,
As someone who's run campaigns across various platforms, I know we were talking, before, and how has this experience been compared to previous ones?
Well, I'll be honest, this year's been tough. The last 2 years, really, for Part-Time Comics. We don't want to take anything for granted. We always have a lot of backers, but numbers are down a little bit. So this one's been a little bit of a struggle. When I first started and Kickstarter was new and everybody was excited about it, and you were one of the handful of creators that, took the plunge and set your campaign up, we would often fund in, a few days, a week. The goals were a little bit lower back then, but we kind of, and then when I restarted Part-Time Comics in 2020, we had a lot of success right out the gate. And then as we all know, things have changed, and we're still kind of finding our footing. We always find a way to make it over the finish line. We do what we need to do, but really the last 2 years have been more of a challenge, but still very grateful for where we're at. We tried other platforms, and, you don't want to get, stuck in a rut or put all your eggs in one basket or whatever metaphor you want to use. That went, okay. But Kickstarter is really where we do the best. It's still where we're going to be in the future. It's what gets our fans excited. It's what gets people to come back and get the book. If we post on our site, like a pre-order for a book, we'll get a handful of orders, but if we go to Kickstarter, we always get 120, 150 backers. It's just, the phenomenon of it is still there in the comics industry,
So, about this campaign specifically, what are you offering? The different reward tiers are you offering for people to, do if they want to back the book?
Well, we do have, we've been very blessed. I don't give myself praise very often, but what I do think I do well is I am able to find great artists to pair with a project, and we always have amazing guest cover artists. And we've got 2 great covers for this book. We don't go as far as other campaigns might with variants. We just kind of want to, make sure our fans get the book and give them something, unique with the campaign, like variants. We do the metal covers, the solid metal covers, which our fans really like. We did do a limited edition Lego of one of our characters this time around. That was a first. I actually feel bad because I didn't know how orders would go. So I grossly under ordered. I have people saying, why did the Lego sell out? So we do try to do the fun things. There's a lot of things in the heavy metal communities like buttons and patches that we do, because that's part of being a fan as well. How people express their so we brought it over to the comics. We have beanie hats. We have we did drumsticks before, but just between you and me, they're kind of a pain to ship, so I don't like to do those too often because they fit very awkwardly and cost a lot to ship. So, but people love those. Like, people were very excited about those. We've done guitar picks. We try to offer different things. The one thing we always offer is, if you're willing to plunk down and catch up on the series, we always give big discounts on bundles, including the other part-time comics books. So we try to treat it as a if you're coming to Kickstarter, you've got a chance to get some cool things, some discounts, some thank yous, some add-ons, all that stuff.
Oh, and I know that you're also currently involved in another Kickstarter that's currently funding.
I am bad
uh,
timing on my part.
well, and I know Travis, and I've talked to him before. So tell us about what your contributions to the Cthulhu Invades Fairy Tales.
Yeah, I'm very happy to be invited back. This is now my second Cthulhu Invades anthology to be in. So for those who don't know, Orange Cone Productions, since about 2019, has been putting out Cthulhu crossover books where he invades different universes. Like, they did an awesome one for Oz and Wonderland, and then they went to Neverland.
I told Travis he needs to do a Cthulhu Invades Candyland.
Oh yeah, some Glumpy action. There we go. I do love Candyland. But yeah, he's done some they're awesome books. They're huge. He gets amazing creators. And what Travis really does is he keeps a lot of us indie creators, working and having our name attached to products. This has been nominated for Ringo Awards. So Travis was actually the first person who's ever, in my 15-year career, ever invited me to an anthology. Reached out to me and said, "I like you enough. I want you to work on this book." And that was really an honor to me last year, to be in Cthulhu Invades Neverland, which you can get as an add-on in the Drumsticks of Doom campaign. But Fairy Tales, I was invited back. He liked what myself and artist Emily Reset did on the first, and we're bringing a little nod to the character that we used in Neverland, and bringing it back to the fairy tale universe. This one's a little bigger, right? It's not like Oz or Wonderland. This is a whole scope of all fairy tales, not necessarily interconnected as well as the other ones, because they're different universe hopping, but all short stories, all complete stories. This is the second volume now. The first volume came out last year, and yeah, it's also on Kickstarter now, doing exceptionally well. These books always seem to do well. Not just the subject matter, but I think, again, Travis really brings an awesome creative crew, and you're going to get 50 something stories, for an awesome price in a really, really fat book. I think I got the Neverland one here. It's like, these things are like massive, beautifully printed, really cool shelf books.
And he's also a very big advocate of the crowdfunding community too, and that's nice.
Oh yeah, and if people don't know Travis, a lot of what you won't see, obviously, creators will talk amongst each other. He's in so many groups I'm in, and he's always just helping people, always encouraging others. He puts so much back. He's not just somebody who, flaps his lips. He's always, "Hey, your book's struggling, come on my live broadcast, we'll pump you up. Here's what I think you need to do next time, or do you want, advice on that?" He's just a great part of the community. And again, he keeps a lot of us working. A lot of us get working credits from him. That's how people start, and then they go on to write their own stories. He takes pride, I think, in helping the indie guys get out and gals get out there.
And I think that's kind of where I got the idea to kind of do what we do over on Comic Watch with our weekly crowdfunding roundup. So
That's great.
but so talking more about the creative side of which writers inspire you, or do you, kind of, I don't want to say look to like copy, but look to aspire to, or because of the way they craft things really makes you want to be a better, creator yourself.
Well, My all-time favorite creator is Sam Keith. I just think he's just so unique. I mean, obviously his art is just, second to none. He's amazing. But what really I think attracted me to Sam Keith later in his career is just how he just does what he wants to do, right? He's not paying attention to what the trends are. He's telling his own kind of stories. And a lot of his stories were very, very emotionally grounded rather than, every once in a while he'd throw people, punching each other in there. But there was really a lot of emotion to his books, For Women and Ojo and these other books that he did that really just, I said, if I'm going to take the leap, that's the road I would want to go down. Right. I want to write stories that have, emotional impact. And now, have I done that? I don't know yet, but that's the first one, it's always kind of stuck with me. And the other one, again, in the same vein, Jeff Lemire, Matt Kint, I think, fall into those categories as well. Emotional stories, but also, telling unique stories, putting in the effort not to just, cookie cut things. They're really trying to make you walk away, feeling something.
So what's the best advice that you've received from someone about your work? And do you remember who it was?
um, I don't. It was probably my co-creator, my longtime collaborator and previous business partner, Bob Gar Ornelas. He was always very open about what works and what doesn't. He had much more experience in comics than me when he and I first met, and then we went on to collaborate on dozens of projects together. Leave space open, like I said. Let the artists kind of have some space, and don't be so damn wordy. That's always what I've been told, not just by him but others. If you can say it in 30 words, how can you say it in 12? Stuff like that really helps. And I can't remember if it was Bob or not, but one of the best advice I got early on was write shorts first, because if you can tell an 8-page story, you probably have a better chance of telling an 80-issue story, right? If you can get a beginning, middle, and end that tight, do that first and then see where it builds from there. I know that's advice I definitely often get, and I often try to tell other people. As somebody who didn't do that, who tried to jump into a longer story right off the bat that didn't work out, I always try to tell people, slow down. We all, everybody wants to tell that 50-issue epic, but again, if you can't finish one issue, you're not going to get there. So start with a short, see how you feel, and then build from there.
Now, is Drumsticks a finite story, or is it something that you hope you can continue to tell stories?
I think it's always had an ideal 3 arc, about 10 to 12 issues in it, beginning, middle, and end. And I think that's what we're heading for in 2026. We're actually gonna, Part-Time Comics has been pretty busy the last couple of years, 4 or 5 issues a year of different series. Next year, we're going to really focus on wrapping up Drumsticks of Doom, how Dan and I want to do it before, we get too old to finish it. Is there other stories within the pocket of the universe we'd like to tell? Sure. But we want to make sure we tell our main story, how he and I want to conclude that. So look for that to conclude in 2026.
So, um, just trying to figure out how to. So, what advice? What do you know now that you wish you knew when you began, and wish you could tell your younger self?
Um, Comics can be expensive to make, to ship, to produce. Maybe try to take less risks in, the length of the book, or, how many covers you get on a book. Try to be more mindful of the budget, and not just the budget in money, but in time. Because I've had a lot of projects that, I was working with somebody and I wasn't honest with myself about where they were at as a creator. And if they weren't able to produce at the rate we needed to kind of get the issue moving, projects kind of sometimes stall out or don't continue because you're not realistic, or the person's not with you and you're not having an honest conversation. So just be honest with each other. Hey, I can probably do 8 pages by this, but I have an idea that's 3 issues long. Do you really think you can commit to that? We've had some stops and starts there over the years where I was trying to take a square peg and put it in a round hole and say, the people that you work with, even though you respect them and want to work with them, they may not be at that same place as you. And again, you have to be open with each other and make sure that you're on the same page before a project starts. And then it either you have to bring somebody else in to finish it, or it doesn't get off the ground from there.
And just in general, are you reading anything now that is really catching your you know comic book vibe, I guess?
Oh, absolutely. I tell people all the time, if you're complaining too much about what you're reading, then you're not really trying, because every day, every week in this amazing comic industry, the world-class stuff comes out all the time. 2 of the best that I've read recently is from Boom Studios, from Tony Felice and Dave Wachter. That's Uncanny Valley. Amazing story. Loved Dave, loved his work, and it's just always great to see the perfect creative team do their book, and he's just the perfect fit, because I won't spoil it, but there's 2 styles to the book that Dave just nails artistically, and I think that's a fun and unique book. Wrapping up soon, I think, or just ended.
Yeah. And I know Dave. I met him back in the early 2000s, and I'm glad. If somebody deserved to kind of be where he is now, it's him.
For sure. The nicest guys in comic gets thrown around a lot, but he's definitely among that list. But yeah, Uncanny Valley is amazing. And then I'm a sucker for music comics, as you can probably guess. A lot of music themed comics. I pick up most of them and try to read them. But a recent one from Rick Quinn and Dave Chisholm is called Spectrum. And I'm blanking on the publisher right now, but it's a 6-issue miniseries. The trade is just about to come out. There's going to be a hardcover early next year. It's very much, there's a secret war with music behind the scenes, and how Dave and Rick kind of make this universe and music. And Dave is just such an amazing illustrator. He's also a doctorate level trumpet player. So, and not to plug ourselves again, but he did do a cover for Drumsticks of Doom, so I love him forever. He is just, everything he puts out, like, he knows how to get sound on the wordless, soundless page so well. It's just, when you open his pages, you just feel music coming out. Something comes to mind. He's just amazing, and that book is amazing. That's also just wrapped up with its 6th issue. So yeah, definitely track down Spectrum.
So, is there anything else you wanted to mention about the book, the campaign, or something that maybe we didn't cover?
No, I mean, I appreciate the thoughtful questions, the time. I always have to say, comics is tough, especially nowadays. It's so difficult to get the word out. So people like you take time out to share, or your Comics Watch articles. It really does help. People will tell me all the time, well, I don't really share your stuff because I don't have a lot of friends on social media. It all helps. If you can't afford to back, we understand. But all the shares, just talking about it, reviewing, liking posts, that interaction goes a lot further, I think, than people think. That helps this, because we really are a small business. That's all we are, trying to get our small business product out there. So we really appreciate yourself taking the time, and anybody from here on out, follow us on social media. We're Part-Time Comics with an X at the end, on all social medias. I'm still one of those people who likes social media. I like engaging with people, meeting new people. I've met some lifelong friends on social media, so I still enjoy it for the most part. And you can hit me up on any of those. I'm always happy to share my knowledge. I've had dozens of people help me along the way. So many people, and I as I get into the second half of my career, I want to make sure that I'm always helping people too. So never feel bad to reach out. Hey, what did you think about this? Or who do you print with? Or any questions that you have. I'm always happy to interact with people about that.
And are you active on the con scene?
Not as much as I was early on, 2 little ones. Well, they're big now, but I don't get to many cons. I do a lot of smaller shows in the Chicagoland area. And the next one I'll be at is Sound Growler Brewing, and on August 30th, they're doing their comic and cosplay convention. But yeah, we don't do exceptionally well at the bigger conventions. We kind of get lost in the shuffle. So I'd rather just walk around, hang out with their friends, and maybe hand out some books for free.
Sure. Do you have any cons on your schedule this year? I mean, I know we're like halfway through the con season, and
yeah, we kind of missed my season here. Northwest Indiana Con is one of my favorites early in the year, so I'll definitely be back there. It's always the second week of February. C2E2 is April, so we're beyond that. And no traveling cons. I've done Heroes Con a couple times in Charlotte. That's an amazing convention. But as we're getting later in the summer, it's again, I like to do a lot of the smaller shows, library shows, community shows. Table costs low. You can just, not be stressed about the weekend and just have fun and meet people and hopefully move some books.
well, if you'd like to, as we get ready to close out, would you like to give one more pitch for the campaign and the book, and anything else you'd like to say that you haven't?
No, I appreciate it. We Drumsticks of Doom, again, Dan and I are lifelong musicians. So, we put that part in the book. I think if you have any love for music, I think you'll find something in Drumsticks of Doom to life. If you happen to be, a heavy metal fan like myself, there's a lot of the good and the bad of being a lifelong heavy metal fan. We put it all in there. I think if you're a fan of any of those things, you'll find something to like in the book. And yeah, we appreciate any backs, any shares. They go a long way in us finishing the series again in 2026. So we're 2/3 of the way there as we end our second arc here in August of 2025.
And how many more gut-wrenching days do you have left in the campaign?
Only 8 gut-wrenching days, as we launched with you, we're at 59%. So we're limping towards home, but we always find a way to get there. It's just again, being part of the comics community this long, you see people kind of rally around you, share back. I hate kind of putting people in that position all the time where they feel like they're pressured to jump in, but again, times are tough all over. Certainly there's more important things to be plopping people's money on than comic books, but we appreciate those who are able to.
All right. Well, I want to thank you for taking the time this evening to chat. I'm glad we were able to finally get this done. And next time, the next project that you have, you're welcome back, and we'll talk talk more and catch up about this and anything else.
Appreciate you, sir.
All right. Well, we'll continue to follow uh, the campaign on our weekly crowdfunder corner over on comicwatch.com, which gets posted at 12 o'clock on Saturdays. And yeah, best of luck. And I hope you are able to find that finish line.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good evening.
Take it easy.